and all these young kids were about, and they were wearing a version of the Harrington jacket, and you know, I remember the Harrington jacket was always a shit jacket. It was like really crap. Do you know what I mean? It was the cheapest, shittest jacket you could wear get down the high street.
Right.
That's what a fucking Harrington jacket was. They were always shit. But, and now they've sort of reinvented them as, you know, some Italian thing or something. And these kids were like, I've got my Harrington jacket and I feel like a mod. And it's like, well, fucking mods never wore Harrington jackets, first of all. Skinheads wore them. And like, so, you know, what are you talking about? And at the same time, what was kind of interesting for me is all these guys lived in the north of England near to Huddersfield. Now, Huddersfield is where we make in the UK some of the finest woolen cloths in the world, right? But if you put this cloth in front of these guys, they wouldn't know what it was.
Yes.
And I think that's a shame, you know, because at one time people would have known that, you know, they would have understood what was the British worst of woolen cloth. To say, you know, this is nothing about being patriotic, this is just about knowing the difference between one quality and another. And if you know that a bit, then you can dress up, otherwise, you know, if you're not interested in that, you're just sort of borrowing somebody else's ideas, or you're just kind of relying on what someone else says rather than knowing how you really feel and and therefore how you dress. It comes down to a sort of idea or belief in quality over quantity.
Yes.
And that goes through everything. But people want fast food and fast clothing. I don't know.
Well, there's always that.
I don't want to sound like some moany old fucker. I mean, I'm not. Anti-business, I'm not anti-industry, I'm not anti-dressing up, but I just find when it all becomes about brands, and it becomes less about product, quality over quantity, you know, brands in the end get run by accountants, and accountants say, well, you know, we're selling loads of these sweatshirts with, you know, gap between the ears on it. I mean, let's sell more of those, you know, let's do less of the creative things, because that's just a bit of window dressing. Let's just keep selling this crap. And I think that's what I see with brands and all this stuff. And it's funny to me, and you were mentioning Burberry. You know, in the 70s, Burberry's was like the wanker's Mac, right? That's what Burberry's was.
Yeah.
And today, to sort of see Burberry's doing things that are like a bit punky or something, it's kind of, it don't make any sense at all to me. Because Burberry's was always the straightest Margaret Thatcher kind of clothing.
Right.
So to see Burberry's as being cool and they're a bit punk rock, it's like, well, what are you talking about?
Yes.
You know.
So you're saying keep true to your originality?
I just think it don't mean anything. What's that supposed to mean? Burberry's have got like the heritage to what? To represent British cool.
Right.
From where? Who gave that to them?
Right.
Where did they get that from?
Right.
The only history they've got is making wankers mats. That's it. So now what you've got is you've got someone who's reinvented a brand as if it has some kind of genuine heritage.
Right. Yeah.
It never had any good heritage because it never stood for anything apart from boring.
Right.
That's all it ever stood for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are you building?
We'll talk about, you know, your collection, or, you know, talk about you then. Let's, you know, tell us about why you do what you do. I mean, I love your stuff, and I'm not just...
Well, with the Jago, I mean, I come from working, I just finished, or was about to finish working on Agent Provocateur, which I've been doing for about 15 years.
Right.
Well, I had a brand, Agent Provocateur, and I established this lingerie brand over 15 years.
Yeah.
And it's a great company, I loved it, but I ended up getting divorced from my partner, and as a result of that, the business had to be sold. And I was just kind of coming out of that experience. And also, I don't know, maybe a bit kind of disillusioned with the idea of brands, because, you know, I was always interested in the product and the business, really.
Yeah.
And the brand somehow was something, to me, it was about, that was a kind of flag, that was the thing that sort of had your message on it, what you wanted to say, what you're representing to people. So your name becomes associated with something, it means something. And when the business was sold, actually that sort of started meaning very little, because you know, that then becomes all about sales, what's commercial, what isn't commercial, they don't want to do, and blah blah blah, and you end up going, well, the brand doesn't stand for anything. So when I started the Jago thing, I started it from the point of view of saying, I don't want to create a brand here.
Right.
I'm not interested in a brand. What I want to do is make products that actually you can't get everywhere else. I don't want to wholesale these things. I want them to be available in very small batches, very small runs, and always something interesting. That's what it was. I mean, we called it terrorist clothing as well, because they kind of thought, well, you know, no one, you're never going to trademark that. Do you know what I mean? That, I sort of thought, like, what are you going to call something so that it's almost like an anti-brand? So you know, I never bothered with any of the trademarks when you had crack with it. It was about the product in the shop, the look of the shop, and trying to develop things in a small way and say that was good. And you know, we've taken part in London Fashion Week and the men's collections for a few years now, and I have to say, I think it's the biggest load of bollocks I've ever seen. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm not particularly interested in the fashion industry, and I'm particularly not interested in the British fashion industry.
Right.
I don't think there is one. Yeah,
Okay.
you know, nothing's made here. You know,
That's a
so
problem.
British brands all made in fucking China.
Yeah.
You know, what's the point?
So
Might as well be a Chinese brand. You're gonna make it.
it's very valid. What's your message to up and coming designers?
Fuck off.
What's your message to them? As in, build a less is more?
I always think, as I said, I mean, I think it's not, if you're selling something, it's about your product first and foremost, isn't it? I mean, you've got to have something that works. Sometimes, the other half of that is about your environment and how you set up your stores. That's retail.
Yep.
And you've got to have kind of merchant qualities in order to be able to do that. And I like that. I like shops. You know, we were called in this country a nation of shopkeepers by Napoleon and then later by Hitler. And I kind of agree with that in some way. And I don't think it's so insulting. I quite like shopkeepers. So. As I said before, I don't know, you've got this sort of sea of people trying to make something work, make something interesting. You know, the UK always had a kind of reputation as being this sort of centre of creativity. And France and Paris, to a degree, was always a kind of shop window. It was like, you know, people do their shows there, and that's like a big thing about fashion and stuff. And now I think with the internet and with the way, the habits that are changing, you know, the kind of the way people buy things, the way people kind of, the sort of level of quality that people expect, which I don't think is very high. And the sort of disposability of what people buy, I think has changed a lot of stuff. So I think on the one hand you do have people that are looking for something that's not on the high street, you know, and they're looking for something that you can't find everywhere else, and they're wanting to stand out a bit. And then I don't know, then you've got a lot of other people who really don't know what they're looking at. They're just following whatever they're told or whatever they see other people wearing. And it all kind of blends into nothing anyway, because people don't tend to stand out in that way. And then you still got this sort of high fashion thing where rich people are kind of buying into it, you know, and that's become this sort of high brand, whether it's Chanel or Gucci or whatever. And I think that's changing as well, in that now what you've got is you've got like the groups, like, I don't know, the Gucci group or LVMH or whatever, and not only are they keep sort of adding on to their stable of brands so that they kind of control the market in a big way, they're now sort of buying, you know, in shopping malls or whatever, they're buying they're taking the whole thing, like one whole alley, or you go to a street in China, in Shanghai, they're buying the whole street. So they're putting all their brands in there. So you want to go, so then that's how they're trying to sort of compete with this sort of web thing, right, on this sort of luxury thing. So I think what you're getting is you're getting this sort of push out towards the edges where you've got things going very kind of expensive luxury end, and you've got things that are going into sort of more fast fashion, cheaper end, and everyone in the middle's kind of swimming about going, well, what do I do?
Yes.
You know, where do I go? So people in Shoreditch trying to sort of see, you know, it's funny because it's kind of changing now. People are starting to look at what they should do. You know, 2-3 years ago, all those people, their dream was to work for Topshop. You know, they finished college, going to be a designer. If I can only get a job at Topshop, then I'm made. Yeah. And now people are thinking, going, I don't know really what Topshop really means anymore. And is that really what I want? You know, and what else can I do? And where can I get something made? Because there isn't anyone around here left anymore that can make anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? And everyone keeps telling me, well, if I'm going to be serious, I've got to build a brand and make everything in China. And so, well, I don't really know how to do that. Is that success? Is that what that means? And so I don't know, I think there are a lot of questions at the minute. Yeah. You know, and the fashion industry produces far too much crap. Yeah. You know. Yeah. Where does it go, all this stuff? Every end of every bloody season, after the shops have put themselves on sale and they've got like still a huge warehouse full of crap. I mean, what do they do with it? As I said, it's what I know. It's the, you know, things start from.
So you were brought up in there?
Dressing up, you know, you take a different road in life, and one far more interesting when you dress up in life than one you don't. I'm not saying you've got to be dressed up all the time. I mean, you know, there's you fucking dig in the garden or something. You don't need to be dressed up, but sometimes you see an old guy doing that, and he looks great, like really eccentric, really good. And you're like, well, I wonder what he's great. You know what I mean? It's kind of good, but I find one another incredibly inspiring. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely inspiring. She always has been. Yeah. It was funny. I was at a party, and I guess I had too much to drink. I was being a bit loud, and at the time I was still doing Agent Provocateur, and someone came up to me and said, "Now listen, right, you make knickers and your mum still dresses you up. Now fuck off." And,
it's brilliant.
And I thought, you know, your mum still dresses you. It's like when I was a kid, and you know, your mum dresses you. You don't think about what you're wearing. Well, I didn't anyway. It's just like my mum giving me these clothes to wear. But when I was a kid and wearing those things, and I remember for the first time. Being on the street, and all my little friends and people that were around me at that time were all laughing at me. And I could not understand why they were laughing at my clothes. I just didn't get it. I was like, why do you find it funny? What's funny about it? They're just clothes, right? Yeah. And then after that, I sort of started to realise, from that age, I guess, what sort of effect clothes had about that kind of punk rock. Time was, you know, that you didn't have to go and buy some expensive outfit to be a punk rocker. All you needed was a packet of safety pins. That was it. Do you know what I mean? And then you can make your own clothes. You don't even need to know how to sew. You know what I mean? And that was what was so brilliant about it, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, you know, you take in your flares, you spin them all up.
Put
something in your hair, and that's all you need. You don't need to go and buy a branded thing to become a part of that. You can do what you want, and I think it allowed people to start to think outside of the box in that way. Until that point, for a lot of people, it was just like, what are the choices in my life? I've either got to do this boring thing or this boring thing. And I think, you know, that sort of whole punk rock thing gave people another option.
Yeah.